He is an expert on agriculture and is going to talk on agriculture.
On a flight from Dubai to Delhi, Mr. Singh, a Punjabi farmer, was sitting next to an Argentine. When he realized that the Argentine was visiting India as a tourist, he invited him to his farm in the Punjab. After a day of touring, he was of course proud of how the Green Revolution had transformed the farming landscape. Justifiably, his Argentine visitor was very impressed and confessed that he too was a farmer in Argentina and that Mr. Singh should visit him. And he said, at 7 o'clock in the morning, when I get in my car to drive across my farm, at 12 noon, I still have not reached the limits of my farm. At this point, Mr. Singh looked at his Argentine visitor very pitifully and said, I'm sorry to hear that, my friend. I used to have a car like that a long time ago. The point being is our worldview determines our reality, and I maintain that in the coming decades, we all have to change our worldview to reflect a new reality. That is, that the South is the new North. What do I mean by that? The global South, that is the countries which are known as emerging markets, are going to be the new drivers of growth, investment, and opportunity in the coming decades. There are two factors or two kind of criteria that come into play here. One is these emerging markets have young populations. 1 in 10 people in the world is an Indian under 25. And the next 40 years, as they come into their peak earning years, they're going to be a huge increase in per capita incomes. Currently going from $1,000 per capita to up to $20,000 a capita in the next 40 years. The other factor is the growing, just large numbers of people. So not just in India, if you look at countries like Iran, Indonesia, Brazil, they all have growing populations. And these two factors, the rising incomes and growing demographics will drive a huge rise in food consumption. In a very uncertain world, one of the very certain bets you can make is the increase in samosa consumption in India. If every Indian eats 1 additional samosa, that would require 500,000 extra tons of edible oil. The Solvent Extractor Association of India estimates that in the coming years, there's going to be a 400,000 ton deficit every year and growing of edible oil. This is just one example of the supply shortfalls that India is facing. The same is the case in pulses. Now, if you look at the supply side, what do you see in India? Farmers in the Punjab have called me saying that in 10 years, the water table will fall to below 100 feet. And we're using pumps to pump out groundwater is going to be increasingly unviable. Overall, the farming occupation in India is fraught with many policy irregularities, which makes farming very unattractive. A recent national sample survey showed that 45% of Indian farmers are ready to quit farming. The third factor is, with increasing industrialization, more and more farmland is being taken over by industry. And the final kicker is, with climate change, The monsoons are predicted to be more erratic, greatly disrupting crop output. India is not the only country in this position. You have a huge arc of countries from West Africa, that is Nigeria, Algeria, Egypt, Iran, extending up to China, facing the same problem. Shrinking agricultural land, growing food needs for their population, and reduced availability of water. So in the 21st century, food will increasingly be the new money, and water will be the new oil. For all you IT folks in the crowd, in a Web 3.0 world, food 1.0 and water 1.0 still matter. I maintain that South America will become the agricultural outsourcing provider for the world. Let me enumerate why. Just to give you a geographical context, South America has a land area 4 times as much as India, with half the population. There's abundant arable land. For example, Brazil is 2.5 times the size of India with the population of UP. Argentina, where I live, is almost the size of India, but with only the population of Delhi, Mumbai, and Calcutta. Uruguay is the size of Karnataka with half the population of Bangalore. So in these countries, lying in the tropical and temperate belt, you have excellent weather with ability to grow any kind of crop. Very high soil fertility, where crop yields are up to 3 times that in India. Combine that with use of modern technology, like in the US or Canada, entirely private sector driven agriculture, which is largely free from governmental intervention, and you have excellent economics for being an agriculture outsourcing provider. The agriculture profession in South America has the same respect that IT commands in India. So you have the smartest people and the biggest fortunes in agriculture. So what do you see as a result? You have farmers from the US, Europe, Australasia, investing in the agribusiness value chain in South America. And recently, we've also had Indian companies get into this space. Olam International, a Singapore-listed, largely NRI-owned company, is doing contract farming in Argentina for pulses, dairy farming in Uruguay, with huge expansion plans in other parts of South America. 2 Indian crop input companies, United Phosphorus and Punjab Crop and Chemicals, have acquired Argentine companies to grow their market share to serve South American markets. You have Mahindra and Mahindra selling tractors in Argentina. So to summarize, I'd like to say emerging markets are going to be the huge drivers of growth and opportunity. With this rise in incomes of emerging markets and growing populations, food shortages will be a reality in these countries, and they'll have to increasingly import food from overseas. South America is ideally positioned to be an agriculture outsourcing provider, not just to India, but to the world. And lots of American, European and now Indian companies are getting a taste of business and see the potential for business in this region. And for those of you who think you're too late or you've missed the boat, I want to leave you with a thought. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. And I wish that in this partnership summit, you plant seeds of opportunity which yield juicy fruits and profits in the years to come. And remember our farmer, Mr. Singh, from the start of the speech? He's on the phone with his travel agent, buying his ticket to South America. Thank you.